you've been asking for. Finally gonna get video running the Glenco. Wish I could tell you this, you're gonna get to see the first time we stick it in the ground, but Dad's already running over 12 acres while I was down at school, so we do know what pulls it. And it actually pulls easier than the 11 shank does, because Dad's got it set running about 11-12 inches in the ground, and he was pulling it, he said, in third direct. And on the 11 shank I could pull that in third direct, but I can only go about 7-8 inches in the ground. So and I would like to get video running this thing a whole lot sooner, but then there's always a but. Gotta pay rent today, that's why them checks are in there. But we got it home that day, got it all put back together. I was gonna go out and try it that night. We got put all new hydraulic hoses on it, because the ones that were on it were shot. And got the hoses, everything put back on it, got it put together. Went to try it, went to try the hydraulics to bleed the air out of the lines. It would go up, but it wouldn't go back down. So we screwed with that for almost an hour and a half, trying to figure out why the heck it would go up but it wouldn't go back down, because it made absolutely no sense. We finally gave up, went in, ate dinner, let it sit for the night, went back out, screwed with it for another hour the next morning to find out Dad got a bad shipment of Pioneer couplers from his supplier, and they would open one way, but they wouldn't open they wouldn't, when you put pressure back on them, they'd close. So it wouldn't let the cylinders retract. So got that figured out. Brought it up, took it, I wanted to flip all the shovels over because I had about an inch wore off of them, and there was still one flip left on them. Had to get new bolts for it, so I run over to Rural King. They don't have the right size bolts. Run a TSC, they don't have the right size bolts, so I had to run 45 minutes down to Wyatt Farm Supply to get plow bolts for it, which actually turned out alright. Because while I was down there, I was asking them if they had any 4-inch cup chisel plow points, because I like running the cup ones better. They do a better job of burying trash. And said, yeah, we actually got 21 of them. We got 9, it was 9 of one and 13 of the other, or something like it. There was 9 of one and 13 of the other. Can't remember if it was rights or which ones were rights and which ones left. But anyway, they had 21 of them, right? 9 and 13 is 21, something to that effect. I can't do math in my head. Said, yeah, we got 21 of them down there. And just the regular twisted shovels were $22 a piece, and the cup shovels were normally, I think he said, 26 or 27 bucks a piece. He gave me all of them for 16 bucks a piece, so I got basically enough points to do this thing twice for 370 bucks, which is dirt cheap for iron. But anyway, got that done, got back up here, got the points flipped, finally took it down to the field, that field right there, to try it, and I'm going down the road, and this wheel right here is wobbling, and it's squawking, and I don't know if any of you guys have ever heard of a wheel that's loose, but when it's working on the pilot on the hub, the rust, it squawks a little bit. And that's exactly what it sounded like. And I figured, alright, lug bolts are loose, simple fix. So I get down there, grab the wheel, thunk, 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 thunk. Wheel bearings went out. And the kicker of that is, the very first thing that I did when we got this thing back to the house and started putting it back together, was I went up and grabbed the wheels and shook them to make sure the wheel bearings were good, and they were both tight. So the wheel bearings went out between the house and that field. Alright. By now, this is Sunday. We're like, well, shit, where are we going to get wheel bearings on a Sunday? Well, we go down to Napa. They got one seal, but no bearings. Go to O'Reilly, just down the road. They got all the bearings, but no seals. Well, shit. Actually, I take this back. This was on Saturday we did this. So, we get all the bearings, and we order. Guy down there working the parts counter says, we got 2 seals at another store. We can have them in here tomorrow morning. And Dad looks at him and goes, okay, tomorrow's Sunday. You're for sure going to have a shipment on Sunday morning. Guy says, yeah, I'll be here 7:30 tomorrow morning. Alright. They don't open till 8. So, I get down there, walk in. Same guy's working the parts counter, says, yeah, we ordered some axle seals yesterday. I was like, oh, yeah, I remember. And he looks at me, he's like, oh, shit. I thought yesterday was Friday. We don't get any shipments in Sunday. Even after Dad specifically asked him, Sunday. So, didn't get to use it that weekend. I had to stay down there because the next weekend was when I had that field trip down to the Bear Run mine. And so while I was down there, Dad got it put back together, and he's working ground with it. Oh, the other thing we found out, this wheel bearing had gone out before, and they just ran it, and it had eaten up into the axle, or up into the spindle. So that was part of the reason the bearings went back out, and it was because there was nothing really supporting the back inner bearing, and it was just flopped around on the spindle, so there's nothing supporting it, so the bearing basically just ate itself. So we pulled that whole axle off. Dad chucked it up into Bridgeport, picked up the angle on it, and reversed a boring bar and welded up and turned the spindle back on to size and got that fixed. So it should be fixed this time. So, and then the other thing we did is drilled the hub out and put grease zerks in it. So now the hubs are greasable, which they weren't before, which is odd because pretty much every implement we have has greasable hubs on it. So, but it's good to go now. So, and I'm not gonna do any GoPro footage of it today. I'll get that hopefully if the weather holds next weekend. I gotta go chisel that top there, that field where I was fixing tile lines. So that's a bigger field. That's a 13-acre field, and I figure I can get better video in that. So, but we're gonna head down to the field. Alrighty. This field's one hell of a hill, so I'm kind of curious to see how I handle it. Also trying to figure I've always, because of the way this thing's shaped, I've always plowed it straight, but it really needs to be worked in angle. No, I'm just oh shoot. Which way, which way? I also didn't chop the stalks in this field because there's so many rocks in it. We were scared of hurting the chopper. I came down here earlier this summer and picked rocks for 2 days. Filled up our barge wagon all the way just off the front. So, but it's also a kind of experiment to see how this thing works in unchopped stalks. that feels done. He was a shade on the wet side, but it didn't work up too terrible.